No matter what you're thinking or feeling, the camera is going to see it. So if you're feeling frustrated that you can't get that line right, if you're about to laugh, if you're feeling nervous, the camera is going to show all of that. So let's talk about today how to look good on camera even when you're nervous.
Anybody nervous right now?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
A little nervous?
I'm not nervous at all.
I'm too sleepy to be nervous.
Why aren't you nervous?
Honestly, I've been on camera since I was 6 years old. So I have a lot of experience. A lot of people don't have that same kind of experience, but the principles that I've learned from being on camera, both as an actor and a performer in the music industry, those skills and tools that I've learned can be applicable for somebody who doesn't have as many years. And if I would have known those things earlier on, I probably could have head started my ability to just be calm and focused on camera.
All right, before we actually go in and give you some tips, I want to ask, maybe a little bit of an experience of what it was like when you were nervous on camera, or, what that felt like and what you kind of did to overcome that.
I was asked by my kid's agent to audition for the Olympics, some spot or something. And I was not really doing a lot of acting or anything. I just thought, I'll go and do it. What the heck? It'll help me as a director. If I get the part, I'll make some good money. So I went in to do this audition. It was supposed to be, basically they said, it's really just gonna be your reactions. It's just, you go, you're a mom in the stands. It's gonna be a close-up on you. And the entire life of your kid basically passes before your eyes from the very first practice to this moment while the ski jump is going. And all my part was to watch them take off, land, and have emotion kind of come upon me as they land and they win a gold medal. And I thought, how do I do this? And I was very nervous because I really didn't do a lot of auditioning. All I knew was helping my kids get ready. And the cool thing about it was, as I went in for the audition and she told me what she wanted, I thought about it and I just made it real in my mind. And I really thought about it. And all of a sudden I felt like what Jaime King told us years ago. If you have compassion and empathy for your character as a real person, it's easy. And from that time on, I actually teared up. I was surprised because I thought, I'm not an actress. But maybe we don't say things like that. I'm not an actress, I'm not a presenter, I'm not a YouTuber. Don't say that, because you can be the moment that you change. So for me, that's what happened, is I did an audition I wasn't asking to go on to, and I put myself in the moment, and when I felt for the character, or when I'm doing something like YouTube, helping our entrepreneurs, I just think about what I care about, and then it becomes easy.
So it sounds like you just really got out of your own way. I think that's kind of what I heard. It went from being like, oh, I'm doing this audition and it's scary, to I just thought about what that person would feel. So, you're no longer Allie. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. The first time I had to be on live television, I was asked to do this street team thing for a local TV show. And I didn't really have a whole lot of on-camera experience. And so I was just like, sure, that sounds fun. They were like, you seem fun. Let's put you on camera. No idea what I was doing. And they were like, you're going to go on the 4 o'clock news and do this interview. And I was terrified. Not only was I going to have to be on camera for the first time, but it was going to be live. And when we played it back, my partner and I, my co-host, his eyebrows just kept bouncing up and down the whole interview. And I kept doing this shoulder shimmy thing. I was like, we're just so fun. We have the best job. And it was just terrible. And my boss came down and he was like, yeah, you rocked it. And I was like, are you kidding me? Who does this the entire time? It was ridiculous.
We should have talked about doing this. Yeah, we should have been doing this.
I mean, look at the energy on camera.
I think that's what it was. I had all this nervous energy, and I was just just coming out like this. I was like,
you just made me snort. I just snorted thinking about it.
But what I ended up doing is just every time we would do something, I would watch it back, and then the next time I'd do something even weirder, then it would come through in my hands, and then it would come through in my eyebrows. Just watch those back and see what weird things you're doing, and then you'll get better at them.
Yeah, I've found that I think if you notice you're doing something strange, you have to replace it with something else rather than think, don't shimmy or don't do weird things with my hands, and then all you think about is your hands.
Yeah.
So letting everything become fluid. What tips do you use, Stefania, for either camera Or on stage when you're leading your rock band, what do you do so you don't have weird subconscious things happening?
Yeah, generally speaking, if you feel uncomfortable, you look uncomfortable. There are some exceptions to that rule, but like sometimes as soon as somebody points a camera on you, you do it. Like, especially for photos. Somebody will say, "Can I take a picture of you?" And you go,
She just did it as we were talking about it. She knew exactly what you were about to say.
I can be behind the camera. I know what that is. I'm like, I'm just in myself. And then they're like, Allie. And I go,
yeah. Or like when I was a teenager and I wanted to do more modeling stuff, I would like
force it.
try this pose. And I was like, well, I don't feel comfortable, but maybe it looks good. It didn't look good. It looked uncomfortable. So I think my first and foremost tip is to get out of your head and into your body. That's something that I always tell myself is if I'm overthinking it or I'm like, sometimes I'm in my head and I'm thinking about like what I'm trying to say or the message or like I'm just thinking too much and I don't realize that my shoulders have crept up or like I'm sitting funny or my hand is doing, you'll see it all the time. Somebody will just be like doing something really weird with their hand. So it's one part be conscious of your body and the other part is don't be so conscious of your body that you're trying to control or manipulate your body in a weird way. So it's really just let loose, and I have to just do yoga or stretch before I do a video or, you know, just take a second to get into a headspace where I feel really grounded and really comfortable in my body. And if I do that body work first, breath is a big part of it too. Like, remember to breathe in a natural way. I think if you exercise a lot, honestly, I'm kind of like really on this body train right now. For me, that's where it's at. If I'm exercising more often, and it doesn't have to be like insane weight training or anything, but like exercise for me is a great way to get more comfortable and in tune with my body. For some people, it's maybe stretching or yoga or better sleep. Sleep is a good way to get in tune with your body.
I tried to do some videos yesterday on very little sleep, and it did not go well. My brain was not there. It was not with it. And as I was speaking, I was like, I don't even know what I'm saying. So I was spending so much time thinking about what was coming out that it was just, I mean, we scrapped those videos. You'll never see those videos. They were so bad. So definitely sleep's a big one.
Yeah, well, giving yourself a fighting chance in all the ways. Like I took my vitamins. I took a probiotic before I came here. I drank like 32 ounces of water, not even conscious of like what I was doing because at this point, having been on camera for so many years, I just have my little routine to prep for doing something, for being a host. But that's kind of like leads into my second tip. Be a host. That's kind of what.
Welcome.
Hello and welcome to our
comfortable?
YouTube channel. Are you comfortable?
How
Can
do you
I get
feel? I
anything?
feel well. I'd
Alysha,
really
are
love
you doing
water.
well?
I'm doing great, thank you.
We need our late night mugs.
Pretend.
We're going to
No.
get some.
That's something that you taught me years ago. Maybe it was something that we picked up from an acting class or some kind of training. But the point, auditioning for something or showing up on stage as a performer is it doesn't matter if this is the first time in this city or in this auditioning room or, you know, working with this casting director or maybe your first time in front of this particular audience on YouTube, which is literally every YouTube video you do, you're going to have a different audience on. Mm-hmm. Wherever you're showing up as a performer or a speaker or, you know, somebody in the spotlight, you are the host. You are the person that is making your audience member. Because remember, even if there's 10,000 people in the audience, you're performing for the one or, you know, connecting with the one. The point is to make that other individual feel seen and heard by you, to make that individual you're trying to reach understand and receive your message. So again, a great host, think of like all the great late night hosts or an MC at a party or a really great comedian or a great rock star, you know. Great hosts are at ease with themselves first, and that puts you in a place of ease. So visually or like, so I'll do a visualization anytime I walk into a room auditioning for a new casting director where before I even step into the room, not even knowing what it looks like, I'm like, this is my room. This room is my place. And so I'll walk in there and I can say, hello, how are you doing? But it's coming from a place of, I'm here and I'm welcoming you as my guest into this space. And that just shifts the power dynamic because it's all about power.
Yeah, I love that. It's true because
like
it's like
power.
if you walk into a room and it's their room, then you're going to be like, oh, I'm a guest in their room and I need to make sure I'm on it and doing my very best. But that's awesome. I've never heard that before. You walk in and you're like, this is my room.
This is my
You're
room.
in my space. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Well,
amazing.
and it really does give you this power. And again, like if you're at home in your body and then you walk into a room knowing that room is your room, then you're at home in two places, in two spaces, in two ways. And then you can really just show up. I would say an amazing example of that is when I saw Jack White perform at Red Rocks in Colorado. First of all, if you haven't been to Red Rocks for a show, that's an experience everybody needs to have.
Yeah.
The most stunning venue of all time. Just this natural amphitheater built out of red rock. It's gorgeous, but it's so huge and it's so expansive, and the power of the place, because it's so natural, is really tangible just being in that space before any performers get on stage.
This video is not sponsored by Red Rock.
It's not. We have no affiliation.
But it is sponsored by Jack White.
Thank you, Mr. White.
You influenced all of her music.
Mr. White!
Yeah.
Not that Mr. White either.
So what exactly did Jack White do as a host to his crowd at Red Rocks?
So I think the first thing he did is kind of a more intangible thing. He's just so grounded and confident with who he is as an individual that you like feel his spirit. Like when he walked on stage, when you walked into the space, like you were smacked in the face with Jack White, like that's just his power as an individual. And that's something that I think every entrepreneur, every presence, anybody who wants to be in front of people or make a difference in the world or, do something for people, that's something we should all be working on constantly. That's why people will get a life coach. That's why we'll exercise our bodies. It's to be able to work on that kind of spiritual presence, that aura or that energy, whatever it is. So that's kind of the esoteric thing that was just really noticeable from Jack. And the second thing that Jack White did when he got on stage was he just physically took up the space. You can tell when a performer, it's like the first time they're getting up and they're like, they've got their guitar and they've got their microphone and they're just like,
They get real small.
they just, they're like, okay, this is the little spot that I am allowed to occupy. Alex Boyé taught me this. I went to a workshop with Alex Boyé when I was a teenager. And he was like, you have this whole stage. Like, you're standing and singing at this microphone the entire song. You're not singing the whole time. Like, that moment where you're playing the guitar and the drums go, ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. Like, you need to step back from the microphone. Engage with the audience over here. Engage with the crowd over here. Jack White, of course, perfect example of that. Every second that he had, he was engaging in the space with the physical space in a new way that pulled the audience in and pulled in the viewer in such a way that just, it felt like you were a part of the experience.
Well, and I actually have a story that goes perfectly with this. So, this video is all about that fear, that nervousness that you're going to feel when you get on camera. And that idea of taking up space. I was actually on an airplane recently, and I was sitting next to this guy who, he was manspreading quite a bit.
We've all been there.
And I found myself at the beginning of the flight.
I need a bigger chair.
Yeah, this was him. No, but I found myself at the beginning of the flight tucking my knees together and trying to be as small as possible so that I wasn't making him uncomfortable. And after a few minutes, I was like, this is stupid.
This is ridiculous.
I'm not even taking up half of my space. He's taking up his space and half of mine. So I just slowly started pushing my, but by the end of the flight, he was sitting like this up against the window and I was fully spread out. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's scary. It was kind of frightening, but like, I felt so powerful by the end of that flight because I just noticed like, you just give a little bit of pushback. You just take up a little bit of space and people will make room. very
They
quickly.
will. If you claim,
So true.
so you think this is my room, this is my space, I'm allowed to be here for sure. This is my space and I take care of it and I'm comfortable. We talked about earlier, you either bring warmth or awkwardness into a room or fear. And so how then can we take these really good examples? Jack White, who's in this huge natural amphitheater, and yet he fills the space. And I'm sure you've seen someone or met someone like that. How then is a good way to do that? Here we are. There's a little square there that's, outlining us. Here's a space. And we want it to be for the benefit of those watching. How do you help them who want to start maybe a channel or do something else or acting to just get started, realizing I'm allowed to be in this space, and not only am I allowed to be here, I have something valuable to bring.
Yeah, I would say one of the things is just remember you do have value. You do have an expertise that people need to know. I think starting a channel was scary for me because I was like, who cares what I think? Who cares? But then as I talked to people, more and more, they were like, wow, like you have this knowledge I want. And it's like, if I'm here to give that knowledge, it makes it way less scary for me to put myself out there. And then I think a second thing is do it with people that you have a good time with, you have a good relationship with, because, we do individual videos as well. But this for me, it really, yesterday when we were having a very bad filming day, I was like, we need Stefania here. I need my energy giver because I was just so drained and there was just, I had nothing to give, but then she shows up and I'm like, let's go. We got this. This is
the crazy
fun.
out in you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think you make a really good point with that, knowing that you have value to bring. This is a conversation that I had with a friend recently who wanted to ask for a raise from his company, and he just wasn't sure how to do it, and he wanted to talk through that process with me. And the way he kept approaching it in this practice talk was very kind of beggy. And I feel like people will start on YouTube or make videos in this way that's hey, I hope you are liking the content that I'm bringing. And in the same way, I encouraged my friend to remember, and I'm encouraging you, if you're having this difficulty with your own mind with this channel or whatever it is that you want to start, is that you do bring inherent value just by being who you are, by what you are. There could be tons of people within your own space, but your value, your voice, your personality is unique, and there are going to be people who can hear the same message a dozen times, but they're not going to receive that message until it comes from you, because you have something special that they connect with. And the other thing that I told my friend who wanted to ask for a raise was to remember that he is the answer to their problem. He doesn't have to ask for a raise because the value that he's bringing is already worthy of this level of compensation. And so by being compensated less than the value that he's giving, he's actually in the power position because he can walk away. And as soon as I gave him, or I offered him that kind of mindset shift, this realization that as a speaker, as a performer, as a YouTuber, as a podcaster, as a host, as an author, whatever it is that you are or you're aspiring to be, you are the answer to somebody else's problem. And you don't have to do anything to do that or be that. You don't have to become something better, or be the higher self, or be the higher version of you that exists in only your mind. You're already there. You're already that. You are already bringing value, and you are already solving somebody else's problem just by showing up.
Okay, so remember that, be willing to take up space. You have value, you have something to give, you have something to offer. Don't be afraid to just be the biggest version of you. Be yourself. And one of the things that I learned when I very first started being on camera, I learned from a friend of mine, and she said, I've been on camera for years and years. I'm on television every single day, and I still get nervous. But instead of that nervousness coming out in a shaky voice or shaky hands or something like that,
or shuffling shoulders,
or shimmying shoulders and eyebrows, she just harnesses and puts that into excitement. So when she's on camera, she's one of the most fun people to watch on television. She's always so high energy. She says, it's just that nervousness, and I just redirect it into excitement and happy energy.
So remember, you have permission to be wherever you are. You're already amazing.
We're your video allies. You've got this. We've got your back. And we cannot wait to see what kind of amazing, fearless content you create.